Hey, this is Mark Diamond from the Dwarves, the Fresh Prince of Darkness, and you're listening to the Tim O and Harley Show. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Tim O and Harley Show.
Thank you for listening to the Tim O and Harley Show. I am Tim O. Over there is my partner in mind crime, Mr. Ben Harley. Say hello, Harley.
What is happening, people?
Gentle Ben Harley.
That's me. Old Gentle Ben.
Old Gentle Ben.
Yeah. More like Ben the Bear from, Grizzly Adams, stuff like that.
You're like a good square of toilet paper, Mr. Ben Harley. You're gentle, but you're strong.
Tim, I don't know what it is about animals and my name, but, we have Ben the Rat, Ben from, Gentle Ben, we have Ben
and
from,
me.
Ben and me, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Somebody's trying to tell you something, Mr. Ben Harley.
Benji the dog. Come on, right?
Yeah.
Come on, see? So someone's trying to tell me something.
Well, all those whiskers you have coming off your nose too, that might be telling you something
true.
as well. And the way those collars fit.
Yeah. A lot of people keep touching my nose to see if I'm okay, but I'm all right.
It's always cold and runny. I don't know what the hell's going on. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Ben Harley. So in the space-time continuum, folks. Sir. So now, hello, deep thinkers.
Hello,
now, deep thinkers, deep thinkers hear this, we are done with 2020.
2020. It's out of here. Get out of here.
2020.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So
now we are in 2020. Now in reality, when we are recording this, we're not even to New Year's Eve yet. So
not quite. We're getting there.
Right. But to the deep thinkers, Happy New Year, and hope you had a Merry Christmas and a good New Year. And I hope you didn't drink too little.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yes, but I tell you what, all I need to tell you about Christmas is this. I got a package in my mailbox. And I'm telling you this. My package in my mailbox was just discovered at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. Now, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what you sent me that message. Well, I didn't mean to step on your story, Tim, but when you sent me that message, I'm like, that can't be right.
I didn't think it could be right either, but apparently it was. And I got a handsome package of some new clothing,
yes,
Mr. Ben Harley. I got myself a Mystery Science Theater shirt and a Katahdin hoodie. A hoodie. And it was a wonderful Christmas present. Thank you, Mr. Ben Harley. That was.
Oh, thank you, Timo. No, I also got a nice Christmas present from the old Sabins, which I really appreciate too. And Tim, like I said, you deserve a Katahdin shirt.
I do.
There's only so many of us out there that know and love that movie.
Right. The only thing is the only Christmas show that I got squeezed in. Well, we did watch the live riff tracks of Santa Claus and the Ice Cream Bunny.
Oh, did you?
I gotta say, I liked the studio one better. And so the difference here is that instead of what was the nursery rhyme in the studio one? The pervy mole.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Damn it! What the hell was it?
The Thumbelina.
Yeah, Thumbelina. Thank you, Thumbelina. Yeah. So instead of Thumbelina, we have Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yes.
And it's okay. It's just like Jack and the Beanstalk is almost so funny, and like they have this big burly guy who's playing the giant. And so they made a real big mistake, though, when they were making the sets for it. So you're thinking, okay, so Jack and the Beanstalk, when Jack climbs up, right, he's little, and then everything is giant, right?
Yes, yeah.
Which was great. So they some actual production values. They have like a giant table and giant goblets and everything. However, they forgot, apparently, that just making giant furniture doesn't exactly make the actors any bigger.
No.
So when Jack goes up to Giant Land, the giant is played by a very large bearded man who is dwarfed by his chair. So he's not really a giant, but the furniture is. And they don't even really, I don't think, comment on that. I'm like, does anyone else notice that there's a really big...
Someone else not seeing this?
Yeah, it's just not. It's just, I didn't think it was quite as funny. So anyway, besides that, I did watch off to the side, not real intently, but while we were opening some gifts, we did watch The Year Without Santa Claus.
Okay, yeah.
Whew, that's where they were starting to get really weird.
Yes, that's where that's the one where like the elves, right? They take off and they go to try to find one of the elves escapes, or not the elves, but one of the
well, it's Santa Claus has got the sniffles. He ain't feeling good, so the elves have to go on an odyssey.
Yeah,
and it's just like it was sort of like when the LSD takers were taking over.
Yes, yeah. But this is the heat miser. And
heat miser is in it. Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Which actually is funny. Then they get Mother Nature involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah. That is a definitely very, very bizarre one.
Yeah. So I'm going to see here now. Now, of course, we are past New Year's in the space-time continuum, but in reality, as I sit here, do not think that I am not going to try to watch Rudolph's Shiny New Year, because that. Oh. No, we got Eon the Terrible. Eon the Terrible is like a whole different. Yeah. It's not a suggestion; it's a requirement. Kind of definitely. And I gotta laugh at that kid's ears. I gotta laugh at it.
It's hard not to. It really is.
Apparently.
It's just so hard. It's so hard not to.
Right.
And actually, that's a pretty good one, too. That's like one of the longer ones, too.
Yeah.
It's a very, very involved ranking and pass, which is okay, though. And I like it. I really do.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Ben Harley, that one has a direct connection to our show, because if I'm not mistaken, it is narrated and starring Red Buttons, who was also in The Ambulance that we reviewed over the last year. So there you go.
Yeah. And it's funny, my older brother and my grandpa, who I never got to meet, used to watch the Red Button show together. That was like... So yes, we definitely have a connection.
Yeah. Well, here I'm going to connect it into the show, Mr. Ben Harley, because I do talk about things that I watch sometimes, and we did just mention Red Buttons. We got there somehow.
Red Buttons,
all right. Yes. And so Red Buttons was a dear friend, like me and Mr. Danny Hicks, dear friend of Larry Cohen, the director of the Ambulance, and he also directed the It's Alive movie with the ugly babies and everything. And I watched a movie, King Cohen, which was a documentary about Larry Cohen.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Nice. Who unfortunately has passed. He's no longer with us. But that was actually a pretty good documentary. Kind of a breezy topical, but it's enjoyable. And it was made in 2017. Sure. So it was... I thought this was a brand new documentary, but it was not. It was made with Larry Cohen. Basically, it's him sitting there. He's basically telling his stories, and then the people he's telling, like, he talks about Fred the Hammer Williamson, So they'll tell the story about making this movie, and then they'll show Fred going, "Yeah, that's not how it happened."
That's really not
so there's a lot of contradictions going on. So it's kind of fun to watch the back and forth, and you could tell they all really like each other and stuff. But it's still kind of fun to watch these back and forth revisionist histories going on of things like that. But fun little documentary. It's on Amazon Prime. So I thought I would mention that.
For sure.
And before we get too far in here, I also wanted to mention, Mr. Ben Harley, that today is the first day in many moons, many weeks, that we have not had an interview, because our good friend Jerry Chandler from Synapse Films has been on the show last few weeks.
Yeah.
We've been playing a 3-part interview, and I have been threatening Mr. the Fresh Prince of Darkness, Mr. Mark Diamond from the punk rock and roll music group The Dwarves. I've been promising him. Well, I am going to be conducting that interview tomorrow in the Space Time Continuum.
Nice. Okay.
So hopefully next week we will have Mr. Mark Diamond from the Dwarves on. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good.
Right.
Shark exploitation.
Absolutely. Now I just swerved all over the place here in the beginning of the show, Mr. Ben.
Okay.
I think I'm still drunk from New Year's. And the Space-Time Continuum, I'm starting to drink. I mean, you got to drink for at least 3 days to get drunk enough to be drunk enough for it to be New Year's Eve, right?
Right.
Exactly. All right. So, couple flicks I watched, Mr. Ben Holly. Just a couple of them.
Okay.
All right. So, let's see here. From 1972. We watched Beware the Blob.
Oh, nice.
Or
yeah.
Son of Blob, depending on what
Son
you
of Blob.
Yeah. Woo, Mr. Ben Harley, that is one silly, silly movie.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's a very silly movie. Directed by, of all people, Larry Hagman.
Yeah, that's right. And like,
Can you believe it? I mean,
no,
yeah.
no,
So
not
apparently
really.
something happened. Like the producer of the Blob was neighbors with Larry Hagman and told Larry Hagman had never seen the movie. So the director showed
Never
him
seen the Blob, the original Blob.
Yeah, he had never seen it back then, and so So the director showed him, or the producers showed him, like a 16 millimeter print of it that he had. Okay. And then he said, I want to make a sequel to this. And Larry Hagman said, hey, I'll do it, and I'll get all my friends together and we'll do it, but you have to let me direct it.
Oh wow, yeah.
So, and when you watch the movie, man, it just seems like somebody lost a bet. Somebody like scored a great bag of cocaine and called his friends to come over with a camera. Burgess Meredith is in this thing.
Right, yeah, that's right.
Cindy Williams. Dick Van Patten. Mr. Ben Harley. Godfrey Cambridge is in this movie. For the love of all that's holy, okay?
Right.
Oh, it's a silly, silly movie, though. It really is a crazy, goofy. It's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Seriously, so bad it's good. But you know what? The blob effects aren't that bad.
I think we reviewed that.
We did review it, a few years back. Yeah. And the blob effects aren't that bad.
No, no.
It's got its moments, but yeah, it's got 1972 just smeared all over it, though. Just all over it. I mean, it's got shag carpet in places, and whoa, Dougie. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so
and it's got Larry Hagman directing.
It's got Larry Hagman directing and playing a weird, pervy bum in it too. Excitable, nervous guy. Yeah, not exactly J.R. Ewing here.
No.
Yeah. So
and
okay.
Who shot J.R. Tim?
You know what? It was a dream. Nobody
can't remember. I can't.
It was a dream.
Remember. Yeah, that's right.
It was a dream, and I actually believe it was Patrick Duffy who ended up being shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. I hate to spoil it for all you people that are going back and watching Dallas. Yeah. All right, moving forward.
Any Dynasty stuff either, Tim.
Right. No, I'm not talking about. Now, I do like the cat fights in Dynasty, but we're gonna.
I like Linda Evans.
I like Linda Evans too. I do.
And what's her name?
No, I don't like Joan Collins.
I do.
I don't like Joan Collins. You can have her. Then too. I'll tell you what. You take Joan Collins. I'll take Linda Evans. Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, I like
see, I got you on that. See, I knew it. Anyway, from 1943, Mr. Ben Harley. I watched the movie The Ape Man.
Oh my God!
Starring Bela Lugosi, who lumbers around with like fake beards on and stuff, and makes weird faces that only Bela could understand. Throughout the film. This is one of his Poverty Row movies where he's basically turned into a half gorilla man, but he has a gorilla on site.
He has one in the cage.
He's got one in the cage. And then Wallace Ford from some of the Mummy sequels is running around trying to be a wiseacre. It was a time pass for Mr. Ben Harley. I shamefully admit I do have it on Blu-ray, so I
know that you did.
I bought the sequel, Return of the Ape Man, starring Bela Lugosi and who else? Who comes with film stock?
John Carradine.
Bingo, John Carradine's in it too. Yeah. Woo! So,
oh man,
good time. Another one, Mr. Ben Harley. Here's another one. Now this one, I was actually sending you pictures of. I had to prove that I was in the midst. So from 1980. I watched the film Fiend. Okay. Now this was directed by Don Dohler, who did The Alien Factor. Now I've got some weird little fetish with that stupid old movie, The Alien Factor. I think it's fun as hell. And this was his movie he did, I believe, right after The Alien Factor, and starring the same overweight mustachioed guy who looks a little bit like a portly Gabe Kaplan. Don Leifert. One of my favorite non-stars of Baltimore from the early 80s and late 70s. So, these are Baltimore. So and Don Leifert. So here's what happens. So there is a stop motion cartoon demon demon moth that flies from space, and
Wow.
then with no explanation, and then flies through the ground into a grave and reanimates the corpse of Don Leifert. So Don Leifert, of course, has to take over the local department or the local music department at his college, which apparently was located in the house he stole from a woman by murdering her and moving in.
Okay.
There are a lot of thieves in this world, Mr. Ben Harley, but if you can steal a house, you've got my undying respect. Even if you are a flying horse monkey stop motion demon that flew from space and woke you up in the crypt. Just saying.
How's it go, Tim? You pick the place, I'll pick the lock. How about that?
That's right. So this has got to be one of the strangest movies that
sounds like insane.
I loved every second of it. The acting, the acting was like you couldn't act this bad on purpose. Like you can only act this bad by trying to act good.
You sent me that picture, Tim, too, and like I said, I could feel the grease coming out of the phone. It was so greasy.
There were only two people in the movie who did not have a mustache.
Oh, wow. And I know how much you love mustaches.
One was 8 years old and the other one was a woman.
So,
1980 Baltimore. Fiend. Folks, you got to tear down walls to find the movie. I mean, it's a great movie. It's hilarious. It makes the alien factor look like it's worthwhile. I mean, it's great. So that's two movies now that Don Doller's done. Now you're getting you're getting I think Night Beast. That was another. I'm sending that one to you. We're going to review that Don Doller dud. We're going to review that one here coming up. Fiend I wanted to keep for myself. So that's what I looked at. Now, Mr. Ben Harley, you told me a couple weeks ago, or maybe it's like even more than a couple weeks because we've had Jerry Chandler on entertaining people as opposed to us annoying them. That before Jerry came on, I had told you here in the beginning of the show that I watched, and we discussed the Unwanted Bigfoot. Or Sasquatch, Unwanted Sasquatch, right? That is on Amazon Prime. Now, you said you had thought you had watched it, so you put your greasy eyeballs on it again and realized that you had seen it?
A few minutes, about 15 minutes of it. So
Gotcha. Yeah. So, now that you've seen the whole thing, what do you think? I really like this one. This is a good
I did too.
Bigfoot documentary.
And what's the guy's that Bob Miller, I think is his name, Tim, and that gentleman, he was also on that one that you and I liked a lot, which was called Bigfoot Reflections. And I like this guy because he's just, he's not such a jerk about it, but he's just laying it out there for you and letting you, understand. Like, first off, like in this one, he's kind of showing you a lot of. They talk about the Patterson Gimlin film. This has a lot of good stuff too with our good pal Jeff Meldrum. And they talk a lot about the foot cast and things like that. We got Grover Krantz, right? Grover Krantz. Grover Krantz. He's in there. He's in there as well. But what
John
I liked
Green
about that,
too, right?
John Green's in there. Yeah. But what I liked about this one is they just break it down a lot of it scientifically too.
Yes.
With the foot, the bones in the foot. And things, but there was the one part where the one guy started talking about the vibrations and the frequencies and stuff. And it's funny because they were on a talk show.
Yes.
And once that guy started talking about it, you could just see people, the guys like Grover Krantz and stuff, like just all of a sudden just like put their head in their head.
Well, remember that was the part where I took it as they seemed relieved because they were looking at this like they were starting to believe these people, and as soon as the guy with the frequencies came on, thank God, I was starting to believe this stuff, and that's what it looks like. And that's what we deal with, though, Mr. Ben Harley. That's what we deal with people.
Yes. You're dealing with trying to explain this stuff to people. But what it is there is so much scientific things and stuff that you can research on your own that just, I don't know how you could not. Tim, I like your take on it. You know me, I'm much more of a believer. I'm much more, but I like your take on it as far as, here's the thing. With all the evidence that we have, you cannot tell me that there isn't a possibility that it exists.
Right.
And that's all I want anymore, is that you can look at me when I talk to you about things and say, okay, yeah, there is a possibility of it existing.
Right.
And that's it. It's just as simple as that.
Well, I think if otherwise, to me, it's ego. I mean, otherwise, to me, it's you not being intellectually honest with yourself by saying, wait a minute, at the end of the day, no matter what you think, no matter what I think, it is possible that this thing. Now, you might say there's a lot of things that are possible that I don't believe in or I don't agree with. Yeah. I mean, but you can't tell me it's not. And then, I'm sorry, but the one thing that always, it's almost like, if you have a friend who just isn't listening to you, I've had this happen with a couple people, and you're just talking to them in their face, and you know they're blanking out. They're not listening to you at all.
They're just, they're glassed up.
I get that. I get, so, and I've said this 100 times in the show. I'm going to say it 100 more. That it drives me nuts when people say, "Why hasn't anyone seen one?"
Yeah,
there's such an easy answer to that. It's
all
like
the time.
Yeah, people see them all the time. Well, you mean why haven't you seen one?
Yes,
that's what you're asking.
And they mentioned in here too that Bob Miller, he mentions also like that all these people that have come to this continent have witnessed them, you know, and it's and not even just to mention all the Native Americans that have witnessed this, and these are all the same people are witnessing the same thing.
Right.
None of them, especially even back then, Tim, none of them were talking to each other like and things like that. And they came here and they would say, they even taught like early Viking settlers that came here would say at night that these creatures, these hairy creatures would come out at night, and they would see them then at night, you know, and they would stay just a certain area out of where their camp was. Mm-hmm. But why would the Vikings be lying about? You know what I'm saying? Who has anything to gain from lying about these things?
Right.
Nowadays, sure. Like I mean, I just understand that there is a possibility, and I think there is so much more out there. Now,
hold on. Go back to that point real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to really interrupt you, but I'm not trying to. I'm trying to go back to that point. You need to ask yourself the question. You just said, you know, why would the Vikings lie? Well, okay, let's just, for the sake of argument, all agree they're not lying. Okay, the Vikings they had much more. They were a little busy. They probably didn't have time to lie about these kinds. So you tell me something. So we all know that the Vikings, in our modern history, like in the last, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 years or so, we all kind of agree now that people from like maybe like I don't know, Greenland and like the Vikings and stuff were coming to the Americas. Yes. Way before the myth of Christopher Columbus discovering America. Yes. Well, he discovered it for himself. But so we can all agree. So we have these people coming over. So I want you to tell me what exotic animals we have here in the United States, in America, that a Viking wouldn't recognize or be frightened of enough to dictate and note it. Tell me what animals are exotic to the United States, where some of these early explorers that write about them are saying, my God, what is that? So what I'm saying here is that they're coming here saying, oh, there's these animals and stuff like that. It's like, well, what other exotic animal could it be? If we can take the lie out of it, which we all can say, I don't think that's really true, then what is it? You tell me, what is it? Because I don't think an owl back in 1203 is going to scream blood-curdling murder because there was an owl.
Right.
Somewhere.
And here's the thing, Tim, like some of these people have never had seen a gorilla or even a monkey. And then, I mean, but this is what they're describing.
Right.
How does that jive? You know, it just doesn't jive. I mean, it just doesn't. There was one part in there, I think they're talking about where it was a train, and they thought they'd hit like a juvenile. There's a part in there where they were talking about a juvenile Sasquatch that was found, and, you know, and they even
go ahead.
They didn't even know what it was. They didn't know what it was.
Thank you.
They had no idea what it was.
Right.
No,
because
none.
They didn't even know what a gorilla looked like.
They didn't even know what a gorilla looked like, man. Right. And so, how did a gorilla get here? Right. You know what I mean? Like they weren't brought here until they were found, and then the circuses brought them here. You know what I mean?
The zoos, which is the much further. Yes, thank you.
It just wasn't possible,
right?
And so for me, it's just, you know, it was nice to watch this because I love seeing like Meldrum and them guys break down it scientifically, like with the foot and the mid-tarsal break in the foot, and so and then when they talk about, well, so and so came out and said, yeah, I was the guy in the gorilla suit. Okay, you and I talked about this that day. So this guy says, yeah, I was the guy in the suit. It was made out of green horsehair. There was 2 parts to it. I was wearing a football helmet and shoulder pads. Come on, Tim. I know what a football helmet looks like.
One eye.
And he had one eye. He had a glass eye. So, and then actually, like he was saying, well, the mask was out past my face. So, like Meldrum said, okay, try putting on a football helmet and a mask, and you can only see out of one eye, and put a toilet paper tube up to your eye, and look through that, and then try to walk through on terrain that is uneven.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, effortlessly. Exactly. Like it's your job. It's not going to happen.
And walk with that gait.
Fall and walk with that gait.
Right.
It's just it doesn't make sense.
What about the elbow? What about the length of the elbows and the hands opening and stuff like that? There's this little thing. Look, here's the thing. What I like about this is that the show like that, I told you this when we were talking about it last month or whatever, is that this is the kind of thing I want to carry around with me on disc.
Me too.
And and when someone says something to me, I want to hand them the disc and say, just watch this, okay? And the reason is this. I'm not trying to convince anyone that there's a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. No. What I'm trying to do is show people a Cliff Notes of what, and I don't mean Cliff Barrickman. It's Cliff Notes of why we aren't crazy. No, that's what I'm doing. I'm like, look, I'm not saying you need to believe this. I don't call people crazy for being religious. Well, some I do, but not just for being religious or for having faith. I don't. So why on earth would you say that we're crazy when there are things that are actually witnessed and seen constantly? And I'm crazy, but all the millions of people who go to their services on Sundays are not.
Right.
You see, so there's a bit of a.
Yes.
I get a little irritable about it because it's like, come on, man. It's like we're not crazy.
Right.
And these things you can't deny it. It's not like we're losing evidence.
No.
It's not like sightings are going away. Yeah, we're getting more and more and more. And I think we've hit another rut though, where I think people have pretty much kind of gone underground again a little bit. I don't think it's quite and the reason is because I really believe for a little while there, they were thinking there was going to be a discovery.
Yeah.
I think they thought we were on the cusp of something. But I think that these researchers hold on so tight to their good evidence for their own personal reasons that these are really the only people looking for it to begin with.
Right. Yep,
so
exactly.
We're not going to get, and I don't think the Bigfoot community wants it discovered. And because I think they want their community to exist and keep going. I mean, why would you want to end a whole industry? And I think it would kind of end.
Yes. Yeah. There's something would happen, and it's funny. So funny too, Tim, is like, and also in this documentary, where was it at? Was it Vermont or somewhere where it actually was, Sasquatch was in like a book of things to like in an animal
the wildlife
directory
guide for the state.
Yes,
it was listed as one of the animals. It was
listed as one of the
animals.
What
to do if you encounter one.
What to do if you encounter one. There was also like some military stuff that went along with it too.
Yeah,
and I'm
manuals, training manuals about this. And then you're going to call me crazy?
Yeah,
I didn't put no manual, man. I'm just saying it's possible. They're putting them in manuals, saying they do exist.
Actually, and that's what makes me even more and more believe more and more that it does exist and things like that.
All it does for me is it angers me more when people call me crazy for thinking that it's possible, because I think that I almost stand up for believers because I don't like the way they're treated. I feel the same way about actually religious things too. I'm not a religious person, but I stand up for people's freedoms and rights to have their faith without being ridiculed, as long as you don't try to push it on people. And most people don't.
And imagine, Tim, if you were a non-believer, I mean, like, imagine if you were the biggest skeptic in the world, and then all of a sudden you saw one.
Oh, a lot of them are. A lot of people are.
Yeah. Are you going to be like, you're going to have to eat crow? You're going to have to, like, are you, and some people aren't going to even want to believe you. They're going to like, oh, bull crap. No, wait, you're the guy that told me it doesn't exist. And
right.
Then, and it might affect you to the point where you're like, I didn't want to see it. You know what I mean? I mean, I've seen a few things in my life, Tim, that I was like, it opened my eyes to a whole new world. And I don't know, does this really, and then you start to second guess yourself. Did I really see that? Did I really witness that? Did something really happen to me? But when you see something like that, it's flesh and blood, and you see it walking out of the woods.
Right. This did happen to the guy. I can't think of his name. It was the scientist guy that was working with Project Blue Book. He was hired just to come up with swamp gas. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, he was a believer, which that is really like, that makes your hair stand up on end a little bit, that he was a believer because he was hired to
disprove it.
Well, just to give other reasons.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, he's like, this is real. This is not. Yeah. So the thing is that if you're a skeptic like that, like you're talking about, and then you see something and then you're like, what do I do? What do I do? Well, here's the thing. All you saw was something. And this is where I have a lot of empathy, and I feel bad for believers and stuff. It's like you saw something. So if you saw a UFO, you saw something in the sky you can't identify. If you saw what we call Sasquatch, you saw something that you haven't seen before, you can identify.
Right.
Okay, and so the thing is that you saw these things. They're real. It happens. You've seen things. You know people that have seen things. But there's no tangible UFO, is there? There's no there's no category 1, category 2. You just saw something strange you can't explain, a phenomenon you can't explain. These people are seeing a phenomenon they can't explain.
Right.
Okay. And so that's it. There's really not much more to it. And then what happens is these people go out to almost prove it or to look for it themselves.
Right.
And what we haven't figured out is exactly their behaviors, what their purpose is. What is the phenomenon? I mean, and the thing is this too, it's like, well, what's the difference between UFOs and that? And I think the society is coming to the point where we kind of believe, whether or not we believe they're like Martians, which I'm using that term loosely, of course, like, aliens with, like with silver suits on and big heads and things, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not that, but it's there, right? I mean, something is in the sky.
Yes.
Some people they're putting it on the news, folks. The military is. I was talking to Angie the other night and I said this, and it does tie to Bigfoot, by the way. But I'm like, have you stopped to think about the fact that the military in the last few years has released footage to the media of UFOs? Yes. Have you seen them? Like the black and white, like the, like two jets are kind of. I want everybody to stop. Like we're kind of going through life thinking this is no big deal. Would you stop and think about that for a minute? The same entity that came up with Project Blue Book, that told people to keep their mouths shut about this stuff, is feeding this information to the nightly news.
Right.
That is a change in policy if I've ever seen one. Mm-hmm. What the hell is going on? And it's happening right in front of you. And if you're stopping and thinking about this now, you might be under the realization Timo's right. He's right. Yeah. Okay. So don't tell me that people are crazy for seeing a hairy animal. Hairy animals exist. Gorillas exist.
Yeah.
But everyone was called crazy before these things were in zoos. And again, it's not that I'm telling you that I can prove to you that anything exists, but stop telling me that we're crazy, because, I mean, really, if you step back and think about it, it's like there's just too many people seeing this.
Yes.
There's too many. When people say to me, like, again, it just drives me nuts when someone says, why hasn't anyone seen them? I'm like, why have so many people seen them? Why have so many prints been found? Why has there been so much footage, and yet we still turn our heads? Well, Harley, I mean, I think humans are part ostrich sometimes. And I think we like to stick our heads in the sand, and it does push on our ego. And we do not like to believe there are things right out there that we don't believe in, because then what else exists? And a lot of people we've talked to, I think Jeff Byers was a good example of this too. But Jeff Byers told me this, and I think it was even on an interview on the show where he said, when I saw what I saw, it made me think, what else is there?
Yes,
that I think is a linchpin. And that to me also bothers me because I also think that sometimes it takes some researchers into places I'm not comfortable with because I don't blame them for thinking, well, shoot, now I saw this. Maybe the frequency thing is right. Maybe this is right because I don't blame them.
They are aliens. And,
I don't blame, it's hard to blame them.
Yeah.
It's real hard to blame them when they're, so although
I get upset. And I know, and I know I beat up on the media a lot, but I think they deserve it a lot of times. But it's also terrible because the media will pick up on these things. Oh, this guy says he was in the suit. Oh, so we're going to run a story on this guy. Oh, this is the guy that said these are the reasons they have the footprint because some old guy built a pair of wooden shoes with feet prints on them, or whatever, and walked across. Man, come on. That to me is like, those guys know the difference. And what I thought, and I'll leave it at this about that unwanted, is where this documentary, there was one where they had found some footprints and they were calling it the crippled Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, crippled foot.
And it was Grover Krantz that said this is one of the reasons he really believed. He's like, because he was a professor of anthropology and things like that. And he said, when I saw these prints, I could actually build a bone structure to fit that. You know what I mean? He actually could. And he finally realized, no, this is a creature. This isn't something that somebody had made or whatever. And my daughter, and you have us, with Corey, your son too, and my daughter Ruby. Ruby was, and is crippled, and she had, her feet were bad, and she had to have them fixed on multiple occasions. She's had to have major surgery, and it was funny because when he was talking about the foot of the crippled part, he said, "Well, this is how this would go." And I'm not kidding you, Tim. That is exactly how Ruby's feet have also turned, because with her feet, they had to, at times they had to take bone out of her foot so that the muscles would pull her feet straight because she had club feet and she had issues. And as he's explaining this, it's almost how they explain it to us when we would take Ruby. And it's also how Ruby's feet have still grown to where one of her toes is under the other one. And the way he was explaining it, I was like blown away. I was like, this hits home to me because of my daughter, but it also makes sense. It makes sense. You can't make up, you know what I mean? So I think that's what I get upset about, because there's so much stuff out there that does make sense. And it is not, it's plausible. And not plausible to fake that. You know what I mean? So again, it's just
frustration is not the fact that people don't believe, it's that they think you're crazy. For believing, and I will
the media thinks you're crazy too. They want to I think they do. They want to shove it in your face to be like, you bunch of hicks, you bunch of dummies. You know what I mean? And that's just how I feel sometimes.
Well, they're afraid of looking like, they're afraid of someone like, it's almost laughable to say, you mean your credibility could be questioned? It's like, so, but seriously, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where so if folks listening was like, oh, here they go again. Well, watch, if you haven't ever watched one of these after listening to us, like going down this rabbit hole we always go down with Bigfoot. Watch on Amazon Prime the Unwanted with an O, Unwanted Sasquatch, and just I'm not saying like this is going to be like some big like turning point in your life.
Burner. No, it's not. But it's just what it's good about it. It's informative. Very informative.
You hear people who are rational people who are talking, and they are answering the criticisms. They're answering the criticisms. They're saying this and that. My problem I have a lot of times is the researchers who go out in the woods and look at trees twisting around and stuff like that. And it's like, you're looking in the wrong place, man. That's not it. And so I get up in arms about this kind of thing. It doesn't really, it gets to a point where if these people are telling these tall tales about this stuff, then what else are they telling? So it's almost like where Jeff Byers had this thing where he said, well, if this is real, what else is real? I'm having these problems where I'm watching these, quote, researchers thinking, well, if they're wrong about this, what else are they wrong about?
What else are they wrong
so,
about?
But the difference with me is that you can't, I get so irritable when people say, why hasn't anyone seen one? And it's like, well, I'm not talking to you.
I'm
not talking.
At that point, I'm like,
It's sort of like, it's so obvious. I mean, it's like, how can you even say that? You know, it's like somebody
People have been seeing this forever, for longer than we've been around, and it'll keep happening. And that's my thing is, and I hate to be like that, but I do hang my hat on a lot of that stuff. People from different continents that first came to this continent, or others that have lived on this continent for thousands of years, all have the same story about the same creature. How in the hell is that wrong? I mean, there's just too much evidence out there, buddy. And it just burns my butt, because we're supposed to believe, especially in these scientists, and things that they've never witnessed in their life, but it's fact. It is fact. Why? Because this is what happened. And
just mathematically, that's how it comes out.
Yes.
It's physicists especially. Theoretical physics is really what's pushing a lot of today's science and a lot of that. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Then we have just as much evidence about a giant bipedal creature walking but we can't believe in that. Yeah,
right. So. Remember this. The Native Americans, lots of stories of the Native Americans not believing what they were seeing when they saw the white man's ships coming to shore. And some of them couldn't even see the ships because their mind,
couldn't understand it.
Their minds could. So these are the same people that put Sasquatch on their totem poles.
Yes. Yeah.
But they didn't believe in us.
No.
But they certainly put those things. Yeah. So it's harder for them to believe in us than it was for them to believe in Sasquatch. And it's harder for us to believe in Sasquatch than it is that Native Americans couldn't see us coming.
Right.
So don't talk to me and Harley about insanity when you just think about what I just said.
Yes.
So that's just all there is to it. Let's move forward, Mr. Ben Harley. You know why?
Well, thank you, Timo. Because we're talking too much.
Well, no. Because I want people to watch it, and especially people.
I do too.
Especially people like my brother listens to the show sometimes. Hello, Dano. He's probably listening right now. Going, hey, it's me. But I'm not so sure he's the biggest Bigfoot guy. I mean, he buys me some Bigfoot joke toys and or gifts and things. Let's say, and I love them. I mean, that
me too. That's
stuff.
how my family are too. My family's all
right.
And they tell me, keep up hope, Ben. You'll see him one day.
Well, I just if people really wonder, not if you want to believe, if you wonder what is it, because I think guys are kind of intelligent. I mean, they're all right. They don't believe in everything. It's like please watch this. Listen to what they're saying and understand that we've met these people.
Yes.
So we know these people.
Yes.
And the thing is yes, this is what people are seeing and saying. And what do you want us to do? It's not us, not our fault.
No.
It's not our I mean, this is just what people are saying. I just want people to see that, not us. I want them to look at that.
Yes.
Because it's a cliff notes of what we have gained, the knowledge that we've gained. And there's a couple documentaries like this that we bring up now and then. Yeah. But right now we're keen in on this one. So get on it, watch it, especially if you're questioning our mentality. At least maybe you can go, okay, I can kind of see if you...
And my thing, Tim, it's just fascinating. First off, too, whether I'm a believer or not, to me, it's fascinating.
And what did Danny Hicks always say? He just wasn't interested in it.
No,
he didn't believe in it, but he wasn't interested in it. So which blows my mind, But I don't know how you can't be interested in a monkey monster walking around the woods.
Well, Danny knows now if it's real or not.
That jerk, he told me he'd come to me in a dream and tell me, and he hasn't done it. I'm coming after him. He's flying around somewhere up there in his diaper and his wings, and I'm coming after him. So let's get to our official. Let's get he's driving me nuts with that harp too. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's playing some Timo and Danny Hicks Brain Invasion featuring Streaming Baird songs on his harp, and that's like playing them on the accordion, Mr. Ben Harley. It's not legal. Can't be doing that stuff.
It's not legal. Right.
Let's get to our official little film for this week, Mr. Ben Harley.
Let's do it, Timo. Yes. And it's a dandy.
It is a dandy. Here's a couple things about it. First up, the title of our feature film this week is Happy Birthday to Me.
Happy birthday to me.
Birthday to Me. It is from 1981. What is 1981, Mr. Ben Harley?
81's the best year.
Best year in cinema. Yeah. And who's the craziest country that is sneaky weird?
Slovakia.
No, Canada.
Canada, yeah.
So we have a Canadian 1981 horror film here, made by the same producers who did My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine. Really?
Same year.
Yeah.
Yep, same year.
Yeah. They kind of feel a little bit alike.
Well, I mean, it looks 81. 81 has a feel. That's why I like it. You can talk about 82. Yeah, 82 still got that. So, but 81 to me is the zenith of that feel. It's the pinnacle of that feel of filmmaking to me. It is directed by J. Lee Thompson.
Okay.
Well, here, let's get out Movie Guy first and give you a short storyline synopsis here. Almost forgot Movie Guy, Mr. Ben Harley. Yeah. I've been trying to get away from Movie Guy, but Mr. Ben Harley will not allow me to stop with Movie Guy.
No.
Movie Guy is going to be, it's Movie Guy ain't going anywhere as long as Ben Harley has something to say about it. So
that's my dude.
All right, so we're going to get Movie Guy out here, Mr. Harley's dude, and we're going to give you a short storyline synopsis here for Happy Birthday to Me. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Popular high school senior Virginia Wainwright survives a freak accident, but suffers from memory loss and traumatic blackouts. As she attempts to resume a normal life, something terrible is happening. Her friends are being ruthlessly murdered one by one. Okay.
That explains a little more, I guess.
Yes. Well, the movie's a little choppy. Again, let me pick back up there where I was. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, who directed little movies, Mr. Ben Harley. Little movies like, let's say, White Buffalo.
Ooh, what?
Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
What?
Conquest for the Planet of the Apes.
What?
The 1962 version of Cape Fear.
Wow.
Mr. Ben Harley, J. Lee Thompson directed Guns of Navarone.
What the hell went wrong with this movie?
And he directed Happy Birthday to Me.
What happened?
Well,
what happened between White Buffalo and this?
Right after this movie, he went on to work for Canon and directed a lot of the Chuck Norris and
Delta Force
and Charles Bronson movies and stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
J. Lee Thompson was a Canon movies director. I mean, he basically went on there. Basically, Mr. Ben Harley, what this is, before we get too far into it, is a bunch of Hollywood veterans.
Yes.
Okay, now I know this is Canadian, but let's just call it Hollywood. Let's say veteran filmmakers. A bunch of veteran filmmakers who were basically given the task of making a trendy slasher film, which is big as hell at 81.
Yeah.
And these people wanted to make a Hitchcockian psycho thriller.
Okay.
That's what to me, it feels like these guys are like, all right, well, let's make it good. Let's make it not just somebody running around killing people. Let's throw some story and some twists and turns to it and things like that. That is what. Now, my thing with movies like that is sometimes I go into these movies for just a hack and slash, dice and kill kind of thing. I don't want I don't want a whole lot of story messing around. But I do want it well written. I do bitch about there's no writing and stuff and things like that. Yeah. But they can become a little more complicated than the advertising promises, the brainlessness you're about ready to see. Yeah. So, let's see. The movie stars Melissa Sue Anderson, who actually was a girlfriend of mine, more or less, because I dated a girl who, Mr. Ben, who was a dead ringer for her. Absolutely dead ringer. Yeah, long time ago. Yeah. And her name was Angie, believe it or not.
Oh, so, okay.
I mean, we're talking 14, 15.
Yeah.
I've grown a little since then. Up and out.
Just a little.
Yeah. So she plays Virginia Wainwright. She was, of course, Mary Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie.
She was on, that's what I kept thinking. I was like, man, gosh, she looks, and I was like, that's gotta be her.
Right. Right. Her father is played by Lawrence Dane. It's Hal Wainwright. He was Mitzi in Rituals. He's in everything from Rolling Vengeance, The Park Is Mine, Of Unknown Origin. He's in Scanners.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, as Dr. David Faraday, we have Hollywood legend Glenn Ford.
Yeah, what? Poor Glenn Ford. I felt bad for him in this.
Well, reportedly he was drinking heavily on set, and he punched an AD. He punched the assistant director, got into it with them, and then he wouldn't come out of his trailer until the AD apologized to him.
To him,
I guess for hitting his hand with his face. I don't know.
Yeah. Say, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but what we have here is it's a high school. I guess these kids, it's a private school.
Yes.
And I guess they've all like
rich kids.
Yeah, and I guess they've all flunked out of 9 grades because they're on their 30s. It looks like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and so yeah, they are a bunch of spoiled rich kids, basically,
Yes.
and tossaways, like weird kids with rich parents who just don't want to deal with their weird kids or whatever.
Right.
And then kids are just really getting killed, and you're picking up little pieces of information as kids are getting killed.
Yes.
And they're real hard to piece together, but they clearly have something to do with Melissa Sue Anderson.
Yeah. And it's hard to keep up with, like, the characters. I mean, I figured out who was who, but then, like, okay, so-and-so is with this person. Well, then how come they're talking to this? I mean, you know what I mean? It was like
there's a lot of passing around of boyfriends and girlfriends with very little jealousy and then an over amount of jealousy sometimes.
I'm like, wait a second. Did something, for me, not the type of guy, did I just miss something?
Yeah, right.
So I would rewind and I'm like, no, they're just okay.
Well, and so you're seeing like this, and then you're seeing Melissa Sue Anderson, who's clearly disturbed.
Yes.
You don't know how disturbed or what. And then the movie is just full of people being either overly like sexual toward each other or very, very creepy red herrings.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I'm the killer type of thing.
Yeah.
And then usually when the person actually creepy, they're going to die soon.
Yes.
So they basically say, here's a red herring. Oh, that red herring, you got killed.
He's gone. Yeah.
The movie does have for 1981 too, it does have some inventive murders.
Yeah,
which was a you had to have that. You had to have that.
You had to push it forward.
Yes. And there's a lot of very experienced people that have made some very mainstream movies and things like that.
Yeah.
Television, Little House on the Prairie, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's almost, again, as if they're trying to make an exploitation movie, but make it good. That's what it feels like.
And they're throwing stuff in there, Tim, that just is so awkward and like, wait, what? Like, there's a scene, and a lot of it is just them hanging out, either at a sporting event or at a bar or somebody's house, a dance, and it's all
let's
the
not
friends.
talk about dancing. That dancing.
Oh my God.
I'm going to tell you and my lovely wife, Angio, who like to cut the rug. I'm just telling you people right now. And I told her this when we were watching. I said, that is exactly how you people look to people like me when you're shaking your tootsels. Let me tell you right now. That's why I don't do it.
Tim, I don't look like Fred Astaire. Dang it, buddy. Oh,
you look like that. That's what everybody looks like dancing in reality. Unless it's choreographed, which I haven't seen your choreographer yet. So I don't believe you're choreographed.
Mine should be shot, probably.
Yeah.
But it's like there's just so many weird scenes though. So like there's one at the beginning where, and they're just trying to build the characters and and show you who's who and whatnot. But like they go to like a bar, and at the bar, half the bar is a bunch of like supposedly Shriners, drinking heavily, and then all the friends are at another table. And the one guy just happens to show up with his pet rat.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wants to say, oh my God, you brought your pet rat. Oh, let's see your pet rat. And I'm like, nobody, I don't think I've ever been anywhere like a girl would say, oh, let me see your pet rat. So then people are passing around the pet rat. And then at one point they put the rat in the drink of one of the Shriner guys, which causes, and then from there they run outside and they're like, well, let's play the game. Like, what's the game? Where they all get in their cars and try to beat the bridge that's opening. They can all jump over it.
There's like a
drawbridge.
There's a bridge. Yes. Yep.
So we go from scenes like that to them jumping drawbridges to like, I don't know what the hell, then back to a sporting event. And then, so.
Well, it's basically what you're explaining with it. It's straining to connect things together to make the end make sense.
Yes.
So it's really straining to be two different things at one time. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There is class here and there is exploitation here. And they're clashing together really uncomfortably.
So hard. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because there's so many uncomfortable scenes with her and, the girl played Laura Ingalls and her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some really uncomfortable scenes with them two. I'm like,
and with Glenn Ford. Glenn Ford. And,
yes. And I'm like, is she... please don't kiss him. I was like, is she going to kiss him? At one point I did. I was like, is she going to kiss that old dude? Like, I was like, oh my God, I can't take this, man. Like, there's some just really weird. It's just, to me, it's a bunch of awkward scenes strung together just to be awkward. And this is what kept not really upsetting me, but I know I've seen this movie and I've seen it when I was younger. I couldn't remember crap about this movie. And now I think I realize as I've gotten older, a lot of them older movies that I feel bad about, like, well, I don't really remember. I don't care because I've seen it and it sucked then. So that's one of the reasons I don't really care anymore. Mm-hmm. It's hard, I don't. And the fact, like, I mean, this movie was just... I don't know.
This movie was more known for the gory kills because it was pretty... It's pretty rough for its time.
Yeah, I mean, people.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people that know about this movie, and I remember it. And I remember the cover art and all the things. But I don't know. I don't know what it was trying to show me, but this was
the final reveal of things don't make a lot of sense too. If you kind of actually watch the movie, you're like, that's almost impossible for. There's sort of a switcheroo at the end. We'll put it that way. Yeah. I don't want to give too much away. I know people have had time to see this, but there's like a switcheroo of characters. And so, like, one person isn't who they seem to be. But if you look at where those two characters were in relation to each other through some of this movie, it's almost impossible for the final reveal to be possible. It's not possible because it's like, wait, that person was at a dance while the other person was across town killing someone. So the murderer couldn't have been in the same place at the same time. Right. And you start, why? But here's where I'm going to pull it all back for you. Because, at the end of the day, what happened is, and I don't think this was really on purpose. I think what happened was they created a Argento-esque giallo.
Yeah.
Because it's very Argento. If you look at some of the stormy night scenes with the blues, I know you saw this stuff, the colors and everything, very stark color, a lot of blue in this movie, a lot of blue lighting, a lot of blue color. It's a lot of water. Water was like very like pronounced in this film and stuff. And it has that aesthetic. And it also has the coherence of a giallo movie, which is not much.
No,
not much. It makes sense if you forgive a lot of little things, Yeah, and that's what this movie is.
It was hard for me. I could not.
It was for me too, actually. Yeah,
like it won't. And a lot of it was some of the boyfriend girlfriend stuff. I'm like, wait, he was with her, and then now they're
Well, they were trying to show the duality of Melissa Sue Anderson when she was or wasn't who she thought she was. Yeah. But none of that really added up.
Made sense. Yeah,
so when you get to the end, they're all actually, I don't know if they're hoping, but at the end, I think most people were like just forgetting these little plot holes that are everywhere. Mm-hmm. The plot holes are everywhere. It's like it needs road work bad because there's holes everywhere.
They're like smoking pot. They're smoking a doobie down by where a pool, and the one girl comes down, and the one girl that I thought was the prettiest of them all. She comes down and looks like she's dead, and only what's her name sees her, and then I'm like, and then she runs away, and then the girl actually pops up out of the water like, no, I'm not dead, ha ha ha, and I'm like, what the flip is going on here, man? I could not figure out, from one thing to the other. Like the one guy acted like he was going to kill the girl up in the bell tower, and then a priest finds blood on the floor and blood on the rope to pull the bell, and the next thing you know, that guy
they go to there's a scene where Melissa Sue Anderson all of a sudden gets really like sexual toward a guy who's not her boyfriend. And then he wants to meet her at church, in a chapel. Yeah. I'm like, I always told
Yeah.
Angie, I was like, that's where I got lucky most of the time is I'd hit on a woman and say, let's meet in church. That's usually what
meet you
happened.
in the
Yeah. And so
yeah.
then there's this really stupid, weird scene where they go up where the church bells are. And he starts acting like different, like Peter
he's gonna kill
Lorre.
her, right? Yeah, he's like,
I'm going to talk like this, and he starts, and it's
and then
really
he pulls on a knife.
yeah, it's real awkward. I have a knife, and pulls it out and shows it to her, and he does everything but say, "I am the murderer." He keeps, and he's not. He's doing. They're red herring him so bad that it's making it very unbelievable. And the thing is then it kind of like blanks out. The movie just kind of goes. But if you look at the end, the twist, and then you see who that was supposed to be, it's still, none of it makes any sense.
None of it makes any sense.
I mean, you're like, wait a minute, that can't be. That couldn't have been the same person, this and that. And then it becomes very difficult to, if you look back at the film, to even comprehend who was who and stuff. But it's very, very giallo. This is the way giallo movies are always set up. They're lurid, they're complicated, they don't make a lick of sense, but they make general sense.
Yes, right.
So what they're doing is they're giving you a twist where it's like, oh boy, it's very Scooby-Doo, first of all.
Yes, yeah.
It's very gory Scooby-Doo. You know,
there's a mask, where they pull a mask off reveal, and it's like, how can you make someone that doesn't look anything like another person look exactly like him? And all I gotta do is pull off this little piece of plastic or latex. I'm like, that stuff to me is always the worst.
If that's the case, I'm gonna walk around with a James Brolin face.
Me too.
I mean, I deserve a James Brolin face. Matter of fact, Mr. Ben
do
Harley,
too.
my lovely wife Angio deserves a James Brolin face walking
she
around.
does.
Doesn't she?
She
I mean,
does.
come on.
She does. What if you just came home and she's like, oh my God, James Brolin's here? And then you go, no, it's just me. And you pull off his face.
I wouldn't say it's just me. I'd be James Brolin as long as I could.
Run, for at least an hour. And then she's going to run, coil back in horror.
I'd wait till my face broke out and everything before I tore that rubber off. I'm telling you. I'd be James Brolin for as long as I could. But so the thing is that you even the black gloves, just like the Italian movie. But the thing is, I don't think these people. I don't think they're being influenced by giallo movies. I think that's what came out. And here's the other thing too. Let's not forget. You're wondering. What is this? What's going on? Who is this? Again, I have been telling you for years. I've been educating you, Mr. Ben Harley. Well, no, there's a tidbit to this. I've been educating you. I've been teaching you. I've been trying to tell you. It's just like the frustration with the Bigfoot thing. Mr. Ben Harley, it's Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
Canada is not United States.
No,
it's sneaky different. And the culture there is sneaky, very different. The humor, very different. What seems like it makes sense, very different. The norms, the social norms, very different. We're so appearance-wise, we're so similar. Yeah. In temperament, we're kind of no, they're a little different than us. But I'm just saying, like
a little more mellow. Right?
But the Canadian films, Harley, are hard for us Americans to wrap our heads around because to us, they're so close to being not weird, but yet they're so bizarre. Yeah. I mean, if you think about My Bloody Valentine's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It is a weird one. And Tim, that's you and I work really good together, I think, on the movies and stuff because you're really good at you know so much about these films and the things. But I think I'm pretty good at keeping us on point.
Yeah, because I don't really pay attention a whole lot to characterization and things like that a whole lot. I pay more close to how they're made, the plot. Like, do I like it? Do I not? Did it get?
And I'm proud of myself for that fact. And I could not tell you which end was up. And I kept thinking to myself, is it me? Did I hit my head? Did I get a concussion or hit my head somewhere at some point? I don't remember, and I'm having a hard time now focusing but I was like, no, it's these movies.
When I saw this when I was a kid, it didn't confuse me at all. Like I don't think so either. It might have surprised me a little bit at the end. Sure. I think it did, but I didn't think back to the previous 2 hours to think like where it didn't make sense. Well, now that we're kind of like dissecting this movie, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense at all. But I didn't really struggle for it to make sense every other time I've seen it. I just kind of went with it, oh my gosh, there it is. Yep, that's the end. And you're kind of watching it for the horror of it a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't think the filmmakers were making it for the horror. J. Lee Thompson is not a horror film director.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't think they were making this like this wasn't a labor of love. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Okay,
making a movie, you know, and they were filming a script, and I think that it was a push and pull. I just think it was a push and pull between different things. And again, let's just remind ourselves that it's a different culture in Canada, and it's some things we don't understand. I don't understand some of the interactions with people, and I never have. And it's taken me a while to come to grips with that because I never thought there was any difference. But there is. I mean, we're just different countries. And I'm not even criticizing. Matter of fact, I kind of really like Canadian movies because they're weird to me. And they're weird in a way that keeps me on my toes. Like My Bloody Valentine, I love that movie. It keeps me on my toes, and it's weird. And the acting is weird. And it's like, what are these reactions to things I don't understand? You know? It's tough. Yeah. And here's the thing. We got some problems here that I didn't really recognize before, now that I'm dissecting it. First of all, it's an hour and 50 minutes long. If they would edit it down... It
was way too long.
Yes, if they would edit it down to about a 90-minute to 95-minute movie, like 10 to 20 minutes out, if they would trim some of it out, it probably would make more sense, and they could take plot holes out of it. I don't know why they were trying to stick everything in the movie, except to say they were trying to sneak a psychological thriller around the studio who wanted a slasher movie.
Sure, right.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just was hard for me to, and then the payoff wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, like, all right. But it just, for me, it's, when I watch these movies, and you and I watch a lot of them like this, we're like, this is not how actual human beings even relate to each other,
right,
you know?
Right.
And that's just, it's kind of hard for me a little bit, but
well,
it is what it is. It was a definite ride, let me tell you.
I mean, to me, the biggest eye-rolling thing is how like obvious the red herrings were. Like, people were just acting like villains out of nowhere. I mean, these people weren't friends; they were like enemies with each other, and
and that's
just
what was
weird.
Out.
Yeah, that part was kind of like they were really trying to.
And the whole thing too, Tim, real quick, man, and I'm sorry because we missed on this point, is with her mom. Was her mom like just she's not in it very long, but she's like really psycho too. Like she goes over to the one kid's house who's having a party because they didn't invite her daughter, you know, and just starts screaming at the butler, the caretaker.
Were you not catching that those were flashbacks?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I was like, well, if you didn't know those were flashbacks, you probably were lost. Yeah.
So they went off the bridge to get.
They don't telegraph that stuff at all. And like as the movie goes on, she starts getting worried about water. Like, wait, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Why are you worried about water? And then you realize, well, I guess when someone else is killed, it was raining. But you have to really go back and think about this stuff. And then so it's like, and then like toward the end, you're seeing this huge event in her life that you had no idea happened, but it really
her mom
never
going off the drawbridge.
Yes, but it never really amply, I don't think, explains like the medical issues that she ended up going. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know. There is a lot of strangeness, and that's why I look at this going, "Hey, I'm a giallo guy," and this movie is like the ABCs of coherence compared to some Italian giallo movies. You know, so but I will give you it. It has a lot of plot holes. It has a lot of things that do not fit together like a puzzle. It limps across the end, but the pieces of it I like. And here's the thing: I think this movie is gorgeous to look at. And I don't say this very often. This is not my role either. I do like the girls in the movie. I always thought Melissa Anderson. She was one of my childhood crushes, big time. And the Lisa Langlois or whatever her name is, the blonde girl who was in the Nest and Class of '84 and Deadly Eyes. I like her a little bit and stuff. So there was a little bit. There was eye candy for a youthful kid who liked the ladies, and there was eye candy for someone who liked movies that were shot pretty nice. Things. And there's a lot of professionalism going on here. It just wasn't pieced together. It's almost like either give me a slasher or give me a 2-hour mystery. It doesn't know what it wants to be, though. It really doesn't know what it wants to be, and that I think is what's really kind of getting to you. It doesn't bother me quite as bad because I know what I'm getting into.
Sure.
And I think this movie was made and was remembered for the gory deaths.
Yeah, sure.
That's it.
And to me, it was in that pantheon of, I hate to compare it to Halloween, but the only reason I'm comparing it to Halloween is because then you went on to all the Friday the 13th, Valentine's, or
it's in
all
that,
these, all those April Fool's Day.
It's in the group it's in the group of holiday named horror films, birthdays, Valentine's Day. The one, my favorite was Mad Magazine's riff on them called Arbor Day. That was my Mad Magazine had Arbor Day, and it just had like a British killer running around killing people. That was great. I loved it. I actually wanted to make it into a movie because it looked good. Actually,
that's hilarious.
So that was theirs. Look. Here's the thing with me though. There's things in this I like. I don't like the length.
Yeah.
I don't like the plot holes. I didn't really realize the plot holes quite as much until I was watching it this time. I'm gonna look. I know you're not. I can tell, but I'm gonna give it a mild grape ape up, and partially is nostalgia. Partially, I'm a Melissa Sue Anderson person. Partially, I like Glenn Ford. Actually, I'm a big Glenn Ford fan, and I am a big Lawrence Dane fan. I like Lee J. Thompson movies, so everything about this is good. This is none of their strongest work. It's a clumsy film, but I will tell you this. I have grape aped up a lot worse movies and a lot worse for a lot better reasons. Yeah. Or worse reasons.
I'm gonna have to poop on this one.
You're pooping. All right. Yeah. I'm mild grape aping up and you're pooping. Yeah. Give me a good one. Terrible. I haven't heard one. Ooh. I didn't mean to be a jerk about it. Gee whiz. I gotta wipe my ears out now. Thank you. So. All right, Mr. Ben Harley. Let's get out of here. So so happy birthday to me is a mild grape ape up from me. Yes. It is a poop from you. Nope, couldn't take it. That was enough.
Too much.
I will give you this. It could use some plot holes being filled in. And it could use a little bit. It could use a little more of an aggressive editor too. So
there you go. For sure,
definitely. All right. Well, Mr. Ben Harley. All right, next week, let's see. Next week we're going to have, if all goes well. I don't ever promise 100% because sometimes life gets in the way, but. If all goes well, next week we will have returning guest, friend of the show, the Fresh Prince of Darkness, Mr. Mark Diamond. From the punk rock and roll musical orchestra.
The Dwarves.
The Dwarves on the show. Yes. We're going to talk about some shark exploitation.
Naughty boys.
Yes. We're going to talk about some shark exploitation films. I think I might ask him a little Bigfoot stuff too, just to throw a curveball at him. He'll be ready. He'll be ready for that. You watch.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be ready
for that.
And then let's see. We're going to talk a little bit about some puppets.
Yes,
How about that? Some puppets. Puppets. So that'll be a little teaser there for next week. So, Mr. Ben Harley and all you deep thinkers, be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll be back here next week. So stay spooky, and we'll talk to you then.
Keep it creepy, people.
You've been listening to the Tim O and Harley Show, brought to you by ScreenPrintingFactory.com, your affordable one-stop solution to all your screen printing needs.